and welcome to New Game Plus. My name is Donald and I'm joined this week by Meg. How are you?
Hey, I'm really good, but I'm also really tired. I've just spent 3 days playing Spider-Man.
Yeah, just spending that long whipping around New York City will do a number on you, at the very least on your arms.
It was worth every second of my time, but it was also one of the best games I've ever played.
But let's save your review for the end of the episode, shall we?
That's true. I guess we can do that.
Yeah, very well. So we have our review of Spider-Man coming up, but speaking of good games, we also have our games of the not half year, but the first 9 months of the year.
It was a massive year that we've had so far, but also we have a cracker upcoming. So before we spend all of our hard-earned money on these AAA titles, we talk about what's come out so far.
I've got so many unplayed games from the first 9 months of this year.
The pile of shame never gets smaller.
Yeah, and they'll just continue to be unplayed. So I'm just going to take your word that the first 9 months were a good time. Speaking of good time,
correct.
We also have coverage from the Melbourne Esports Open, which is a new but still one of Australia's biggest esports events.
I can't get over it. MEO was one of the best weekends I've ever had here in Melbourne. It was one of the greatest esports things I've had to experience, and I talk a little bit about that and our time there. We explored the show floor, all the vendors that were there, but also the fact that it brought League of Legends and Overwatch under one roof. We pretty much filled Rod Laver Arena and Margaret Court, and it doesn't even matter if you weren't into those games because there was something for everybody.
Yes, whether it be Minecraft or Fortnite or, oh my goodness, the Fortnite dancing contest.
That was ridiculously
they were something
amazing.
For sure.
Yes.
But I'm hoping they make the segment, but I'm guessing you and I and you will find out right now as we cover the Melbourne Esports Open.
Hey, it's Megs here, and I'm standing outside the Melbourne Esports Open. I'm super excited to have a massive weekend ahead of me of gaming, card games, cosplays, tournaments, and the rest. Let's get started. Right now, I'm standing outside the front doors of Rod Laver Arena while the Oceanic Pro League League of Legends Grand Final is underway. It's super exciting as yesterday we also saw the Overwatch Contenders Season 2 Grand Final occur right here too. The atmosphere is electric and a full house of people watching these incredible finals in a really beautiful venue. But not only that, the Melbourne Esports Open has managed to bring 2 separate video game finals into one event. So people around Australia and the world can enjoy this event under one roof. It's pretty exciting that only a few years after both OPL and the Contenders began, that they're actually both under one roof. But how far has esports come since before that? We spoke with ESL Managing Director Nick Vanzetti to find out.
5 years ago, Australia was still so far behind the rest of the world in terms of large-scale mega events. We were still running events in university halls with 300 people and a lot of trestle tables. So to have now turned that corner, it's very exciting to think what is possible in the next 5 years, and more just general acceptance in terms of the mainstream awareness of esports. And I think that's exciting. The more people that not only understand but then accept esports, the greater the potential and the greater audience that we'll be reaching.
Now, if you're interested in the Melbourne Esports Open, but not quite up to speed on all things esports, there's a special part of the event just for you. Behind me is the JB Hi-Fi Game On Zone. It's super exciting because it's a separate precinct to the ESL stages. Event attendees can come here, walk the show floor, and experience a free play area where they can play any game that floats their boat, or also play unreleased titles that haven't even come out yet.
Hunter, where have you been?
Oh, I got a little lost.
I got the chance to play Spyro Reignited Trilogy here on the show floor, and I'm extremely excited about it because it already feels so polished. This early demo really pays homage to the original game that came out on PlayStation 1 almost 20 years ago, and now new gamers are going to be able to experience what the love that we have for this franchise is all about. It was fun, vibrant, colourful, and just really engaging, and it felt ready to go already, but I'm looking forward to the release in November.
We're up against impossible odds, but together we will adapt and overcome.
Another notable mention on the show floor is Ubisoft's newest title, Starlink. It's a Toys to Life Starship game where all these extra peripherals attach to your Joy-Cons, and they're customizable, they break apart to give every gamer a unique experience. The levels are intense, they're vibrant, they're fast-paced, but also it's one of those things where if you ever played Toys to Life, the older generation that used to play it really get on board with this new title. Now, if you thought the Melbourne Esports Open was only Overwatch and League of Legends, you're actually wrong. We're in Margaret Court Arena right now. It's the community floor where there's actually so many games under one roof. Behind me is the fighting game arena run by Couch Warriors, and you can play games like Dragon Ball Z, Smash Bros, Street Fighter and Tekken. And then to my right, I've got Fortnite. To my left, I've got Overwatch and Minecraft. And there's literally any game for any type of gamer. Before finishing up at MEO, we check in with some of the OPL players signing at the event, and also got to sit down with Matthew Brand, who's a talent manager in the industry, to find out what's next for Australian esports.
Yeah, esports in the region certainly is growing exponentially. Even in my short time in the industry, we've seen esports roughly from being 5 years behind North America to now I'd safely say we're about only 2 years behind. We've caught that up in the space of 12 months. So events like this, of course, bringing in the community with things like Fortnite events, with FGC competitions is phenomenal. And we need more events like this. I think that will expand and continue in the future, absolutely. And I think that's ultimately where Australia's goal is. We are a world competitor. We certainly have a star power and a quality that no one can really compete with, especially, in the bars afterwards and networking. It's that top tier that will break through and innately with Bogan Aussie accents will be superstars.
And that is Melbourne Esports Open. What did you guys think? There's actually so much we didn't get to talk about in this segment that we didn't even show you. Things that we missed were things like the CSGO tournaments, Forza, NBA 2K, Clash Royale, and more. And I can't wait to see what the next 5 years of this event have to show if this is just year one.
So we've come this far into the year. We are rapidly getting closer and closer to the onslaught of AAA games at the end of the year. Holiday season, it gets insane. But before we get there, we have massive backlogs. You might not. So I figured we might try and help you out with that. I've got Meg and Jason here with me, who have also played, I'd say, a decent number of games this year.
Yeah.
Less than I have previously, but I think this is a Switch phenomena, where games that you've played on other systems, now you can just play them in your hand while you're waiting on the bus. Like the amount of Gungeon I've played on the Switch is equal to what I've played on the other
I have no issues
platforms.
with that because now I'm actually getting bang for buck with using my Switch because I was worried that I might leave it at home and never use it. But I catch
Vita
so much
2.0.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm actually embracing it. I'm okay with the fresh content. Yeah.
And so it's been interesting. It has been the rise of the Switch as the indie console de jour. Like, I know Dead Cells, they were reporting that they sold 4 to 1 on on Switch.
And
compared to
Celeste got
PS4.
quite a lot of sales on
correct,
Switch. Like,
yeah.
we're seeing
Had
a
in
lot
time,
of indies.
yeah,
So many of them coming out on Switch as well as a lot of other platforms, and seeing so much success. And I feel like a lot of that comes down to the like how many games, like the flood of games that come out on other platforms. But I mean, coming down to stuff that you guys have played, what would you recommend to people that are like trying to fill time before the AAA onslaught?
Look, every year, well, the last 3 years, they've released 2 Attack on Titan games, and they have both been fantastic.
Whoa, I was ready for that
They
to be
have
like
been
terrible.
absolutely awesome.
Okay.
And so this one, what it did was it bolted on like romance elements, so you can chat up particular people. Yeah.
Why haven't I played this?
Yeah, I know. Like, so it's like you chop Titans, and then you like chat people up, you buy them gifts, all that kind of dumb shit. And you Forrest Gump yourself in there, so you can put your own character. Like, I literally make Forrest Gump like I do and all that kind of stuff. And then so you Forrest Gump yourself in there, and then you can like interact with all the Attack on Titan people. To like, if anything, the controls are they changed one of the buttons into one of the main attack buttons, so it kind of throws you a little bit. So you have to rechain yourself. But Attack on Titan, like 1 was fantastic. Attack on Titan 2 just as good.
Do I actually know anything about the franchise to jump in?
Yes and no. It does a pretty good job of explaining. You've heard of Attack on Titan. You've seen the things.
Anime's great.
But it goes through the series. So
Okay.
basically, it goes through the series, and then it actually introduces these character moments, and whether they're canon or not, I don't know. But like character moments you would not have seen. But as far as anything goes, it follows the manga story over the anime story. So it's actually further ahead than the manga, than the animes at the moment. So like that's generally one of the best games. And then I gotta say, Meme Cooked. Like Meme Cooked is fantastic.
Too, yeah.
And
Even after when we played it in studio, I'm not
I
sure.
love that.
I'm not
You're
sure
talking about Overcooked too, by the way.
I'm not sure if that footage is going to see the light of day. I hope it doesn't, truthfully.
Wow, I loved it though. It was my
was-
first one that we did together
It was
as a family.
pretty intense.
Yeah.
And all we did was abuse. All I did was abuse Megan.
Abuse
It was
everyone,
I
yeah.
streamed a lot.
Yeah. But like that, and then probably honestly, like as much as I can sit here and pick the flaws in it for a long time, and I could, and I mean I did in the review a little bit, but God of War, for all of its faults and all of its pomposity was still one of the best games of the year. Like it will probably win Game of the Year from a lot of people.
It absolutely
but
will.
yeah, I don't think
so
in any.
strong.
I think in another year, I think in last year, it still wouldn't have won. You know, I mean, like it's still a very good game, but last year had such a strong list of titles. I don't think it would have won. I think it was just the best game of a quiet year so far. But then again, we have a lot of stuff coming.
Lots
I
coming,
don't think the quiet year is really factual. I think, of course, lack of AAAs are all in Q4 coming up, or later half of the year. That's fair to say. But there have been some incredible golden nuggets that have truly impressed myself and a lot of other gamers I know, because they're sort of a bit left field. The ones that might have been announced at E3 last year and then have really sort of come to light now. And what I'm talking about is A Way Out. Now, I reviewed this.
Left of field,
Yeah. Well, I reviewed this earlier in the year when it came out, and it was honestly, to this day, it's been one of the best couch co-op games I've ever played. And it has such an incredible story, and the way that it unfolds in the environments is so explorative, and it's really
Plus all those character moments, like when they're watching stuff, they're talking to people.
The graphic style is really special. It's totally stands out from the crowd, and if you haven't played it already, I'm sure it's in the bargain bin already, but do yourself a favour. It's unreal. Can't play it without a partner, which is the best part.
Yeah.
It's good.
Gotta have a friend. Any others?
Honestly, Ni no Kuni 2 is a standout for me. I played the first
Wow,
one.
she's doing weeb games now. We have infected her.
yeah.
Jeez.
I'm part of the family now, guys. I live here now.
Welcome.
Yeah, and it was a really fantastic success, such as the first title. And not only that, the gameplay itself is really immersive, and it really was more polished than the first title. One of the most gorgeous, prettiest PlayStation
It
games.
looks so good.
It is unreal,
Oh my
and
God.
it unravels and goes for hours. It's literally one of the longest games I've ever played.
And then the DLC hasn't even come out yet, and that's
Correct.
coming soon.
Looking
that's
forward
gonna
to it.
make
I mean,
even
whenever
longer.
that drops.
That's what the whole desert world. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be interesting. So.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's been an interesting turn because we have had good games come out, but like, I just don't think there's been anything besides really God of War that you would consider an A-list that stood out. Like,
Well,
I mean, the Detroit is probably the other
That
one.
was my
Yeah.
third recommendation.
But I hate David Cage, like emotions.
Sure.
So you know, it's like.
I love the Uncanny Valley in Detroit
Yeah.
Human. It's honestly one of the most exciting character-driven, dialogue-driven narrative titles that have ever come out next to Telltale.
Welcome to David Cage. So,
I love the mapping after you reflect on your chapter that you've had with this particular character, you can see how many choices you've messed up and the ones that you haven't even dabbled in at all and really haven't touched on. And I think that is such an incredible title, worth having a look at.
We still have so many AAA ones coming. Before they hit, my quick recommendations probably be Celeste. I ate that up. Well, I mean, like pixel art wank. I love that stuff.
I believe it. It sounds great.
So good. And
I haven't
then
played
it also
Super
came,
Meat Boy with Soul.
Okay.
It was pretty good. And then like the story, obviously the narrative kind of caught me off guard because coming from the Towerfall dev, it's like, okay, cool, you're going to be able to make a game that feels really tight. But then it came across with this really
It's Matt Max
Great.
Games. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah, same dev. And it came across with this story that handled like mental health and those kind of topics in a really mature way. I love
It's really
that.
refreshing. I love the sound of it already.
Yeah. And then the other one would probably be, what was the other one?
Monster.
Oh yeah, the
Monster
Switch one.
Prom.
Monster
Yes.
Prom.
It wasn't a Switch one, it was a PC one
Oh,
actually.
my bad,
So
sorry.
it's a visual novel dating sim. Who would have guessed? Another one. This one came out on PC earlier this year actually, and it's a multiplayer visual novel dating sim.
Okay.
So it is a competitive situation.
Oh.
So you're
Jeez.
going
So you
through the
got to
game.
compete for your wank bait, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like a mess, but I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, so like I've been like those kind of games you can kind of keep going back to. Like Celeste, you can try and like score, like just keep outdoing your own scores. But then Monster Prom is because it's got that kind of like forking dialogue. You can keep exploring and keep going.
Well, I mean, like they can make a dating sim about pigeons. So like, what the hell ever.
That's
like,
true.
Yes, oh my gosh. I feel like now we're coming up to the biggest time of the year, Q4, with all the massive AAA titles. So what we're saying is, if before the storm happens, get amongst the titles that might have slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I want to add on one more thing before we go.
Okay.
I am calling it now. Next year they're announcing consoles.
Whoa.
We are hitting that lull. Next year they're announcing consoles.
I kind of hoped it would be this year.
They're
After the
Honestly.
year after Xbox One X.
Woohoo, that big console launch.
It was a big investment from them.
Well, what it'll do, it'll just shift to Xbox One X will become the new minimum standard, and then the next one will come out.
It's not confusing at
But it
all.
won't come out in It'll come out in 2020. They'll announce them in 2019. Because name a PlayStation game that's coming out after Last of Us. Last of Us will be the swan song.
Cyberpunk.
But that's
Both, all
multi-platform.
of them.
That's everything. Yeah.
Question, do you guys own 4K TVs yet? And would you
No.
upgrade with the new
No,
consoles?
I do not give a shit in the slightest
That's
about
rich
4K.
people stuff.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Nah, too much.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things like, but to me, it's one of those things. If the game needs 60 frames, I'll care. But realistically, I could give a shit about 4K.
Good to know.
Like, Grandpa doesn't care. So, but call it now, consoles. And if we're going one step further, they're going to do a powered Switch dock. They're either going to do powered Switch dock.
I'm going to disagree with you there.
Powered Switch dock.
You heard it here first.
He's the man who can do whatever a spider can, and yet not once does he die in my shower. Like everyone else, it's time to talk Spider-Man.
Yes, here we are.
What did you think?
I actually loved it. So it's a brand new release from Insomniac Games, who have spent about 3 years in development since Sunset Overdrive back in the day. And it shows that they've put every second of every day into making this the perfect Spider-Man franchise game. What do you think?
Like, there's so much time and so much love put into this. You can tell that every single person who worked on it loves the city of New York and loves the character of Spider-Man, and also, importantly, the character of Mary Jane.
It's pretty much a direct replica of Manhattan, New York City, and every side street, every alleyway is exactly how it is if you were there.
It's not a perfect replica, but my God, do they get the vibe and everything about it right. Like, all the major landmarks you want, they're there, and you can take a photo with them.
I love that. It's pretty much I played this on PlayStation 4, it's an exclusive title, on a 4K TV, on a PS4 Pro, and you can really tell it's optimized for PS4 hardware.
Oh, yeah.
It is exactly what you want a Spider-Man game to be like. It stays true to its homage with the Spider-Man humor, and it really skips the whole origin story and throws you straight in and essentially pushes you off the ledge with pretty much no hand-holding.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. It's simply, it throws you right into web slinging.
But it still kind of, it shows you what to do. Like, you feel like you're Peter Parker, who's been doing this for 8 years, which you are. He has been. Still not great at life, but he's got the whole web slinging down.
Yes.
But still, you're taking on a tutorial without knowing that you're learning.
It feels seamless.
Yeah,
but also
they
very...
hide the vegetables under the mashed potatoes. Like, you go on an adventure.
I like that. Very nice. Essentially, you follow Peter Parker, who is a research assistant for Dr. Octopus, and...
well, not yet, anyway. He's still Dr. Octavius when we meet him.
The campaign is a really gripping narrative which kind of unfolds as you play. If you choose to follow the main storyline, you can also do the side missions and discover heaps of unlockables.
There are so many side missions.
The backpacks, there are plenty.
Yeah. If you're a completionist, you're just going to be twitching the whole time, but you're going to love it.
The open world is ridiculously large, and the web slinging, once you nail that finesse of the aerial tricks and really making sure you're jumping between buildings perfectly, it is like really immersive and exciting. The, what's it called, vertigo is awesome.
Every time you go near a window, you're going to be like, ooh, I could get there really quickly if I just jump out of it. Don't do that.
The gameplay is really exciting. As soon as you play, you unlock all these combo moves, you learn to do the super combo finishes that are really validating, and all these different types of tricks. But essentially, you are working with Mary Jane to solve, I guess, a bit of a mystery that revolves around Wilson Fisk.
And Mary Jane, she's not the Mary Jane you know. Like, usually she's an actress who's waiting at home for Peter with a dinner plate, a little bit disgruntled. Here she is Lois Lane. This is the Lois Lane game you always wanted every now and then, because you can play as Mary Jane.
It's exciting. Awesome. I think one of my favorite things about this game is that the time-day parting is really dynamic. There's also a lot of weather changes, so there's wind and rain at any given time, but also as you are web slinging through the city or running around town, as you answer your police radio, your voice either goes from rested to exerted. So it's like there's really nice finishing touches that make it feel extremely polished.
Yeah, the voice acting is just lovely. Like Yuri, who plays Spider-Man, this is his 9th time playing Spider-Man. He's got this. Like, he's like a 40-year-old dude. Yeah, he's a 40-year-old guy. He's got a kid. His wife is also a voice actor. And they've just got this craft down, and it's beautiful. But one of the other things I love is that even the people on the street will say things and talk to you, and what they say changes as the game progresses. Because the world starts off it's pretty happy. Sure, lots of crime, but as it goes on, gets crimier.
It does.
Super crime. It becomes New York in the 1980s, pretty much.
So you can choose to take on those side missions and do random things to help the town and solve crimes, or to get extra XP to make your suit more advanced, unlock power mods and things like that, which make battle and fighting crime even more fun.
And they've definitely taken a lot of the gadgets that they learned to make on Sunset Overdrive, and they've put them into Spider-Man. But I think we have to make the point again. This is not the origin story again. We are not going back to Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's
How he
Spider-Man
became
movies.
Spider-Man. I love that.
Yeah. Spider bit him, was radioactive, uncle dead.
I've already
He's
got
sad.
that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Like, and now Spider-Man is the ultimate millennial. He's bad at money. He has too much job. He's got too much going on.
Yes, he's
but
the busy
he's
dude,
trying
makes
as
us all
hard
feel
as he
bad.
can, and I love him.
Yeah.
And I love this game.
Me too. I actually thought it was really engrossing, and it ticked all my boxes for this open world third-person game. It was the best.
This is a must-play on PlayStation 4. You need this.
It's so good to hear that Spider-Man ended up being such a good game, such a good open world game as well.
Exactly. I can't believe how vast the Manhattan, New York City really was, and it felt like it was always something to discover all the time.
No, yeah, and I'm seeing people who live in Manhattan to compare the real world to the game, and it's a fairly close representation in the same way that Assassin's Creed 2 was a fairly decent representation between the Italy in game and Italy in real world. People are using Google Maps to navigate their way around that video game, for goodness sake.
What a time to be alive. But
Yeah.
basically, I really love the fact that it was such a true homage to the Spider-Man franchise. I'm so glad Insomniac got their hands on this.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you could follow the narrative and the main storyline as much as you want, but if you ever felt like just wandering off into the side missions to help out solve some true crime and help the community be a better place, that's definitely up to you. And those backpacks, man, there are so many.
Yeah, it's an open world game for sure.
Achievement hunters, watch out.
Yeah, but it's also interesting that 10 years ago, we were talking, if you think of a licensed video game, then you think it'd be just shoddy, poor quality, just rushed out. But now with games like Spider-Man, like the Middle-earth franchise, like the Arkham series, these are AAA premium games right here. These are polished down to a T.
Agreed. Spider-Man really takes a great pick from the Batman combat system, and you can really tell, but that's a great thing. And I think we've been burned, which is why we're so bitter about it. But when games like this come out from the rough, we're extremely excited about it and embrace it fully.
Although I will say, Spider-Man games haven't exactly dipped in quality. There have been some good ones. There was one maybe 5-10 years ago.
Spider-Man 2?
No, Spider-Man 2, that's just the gold standard.
Yeah.
Before Marvel's Spider-Man.
Okay.
But even then, there was one where you played as the 4 different generations of Spider-Man, which is ended up being a competent, if not as stellar of a game as Marvel Spider-Man ended up being.
And even if you're not really familiar with the whole character roster of Marvel characters, you can still really enjoy this for what it is. It's very wholesome.
Yeah, it's not a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe homework, so at least there's that. But that does it for this week's episode of New Game Plus. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to watch more New Game Plus videos, visit our website at www.newgameplus.tv.
Don't forget our NPG RPG.
That's coming up right after this. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Meg.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.